It appears that the world we see is the real world. Solid objects, physical space, a universe sitting out there exactly as it appears. But we're slowly breaking that down, because physics keeps dissolving solidity into mathematics, information and probability. And evolution tells us our senses were never designed to reveal the truth in the first place. When you actually look at it, the world you experience may be less like reality itself, and more like a survival interface hiding whatever reality truly is. So here's the real question. If both physics and evolution say appearances are deceptive, what exactly are we living inside? This is part 16 in the video series of Chapter 2, Beyond Physics, Mind, Evolution and Perception. Section 12 of the book, Physics and Illusion, and Evolution as Illusion. So far we've travelled two parallel roads. Physics tells us that space-time and matter may not be the bedrock. They look increasingly like emergent patterns, convenient descriptions that arise out of deeper mathematical or informational structures. On the other side, biology and neuroscience tell us that our perceptions are not literal snapshots of the world, but survival-oriented icons. What we see, hear, touch are evolutionary shortcuts, stripped-down dials and symbols that keep us alive but hide the underlying circuitry. Now bring those two lines together. If physics says reality is emergent and evolution says perception is a filter, then the unavoidable conclusion is that what we call reality is doubly illusory. First, because what physics describes, space-time, matter, energy, etc., isn't fundamental. And second, because what our senses deliver is not even that emergent reality, but a user interface tuned for survival. We are quite literally living in an iconography of existence. Let's return to that tree we talked about earlier. From physics, we know it isn't truly a solid object. It's atoms, themselves excitations of fields, perhaps ultimately informational structures. From perception, we know your experience of a tree, its greenness, its smell, its rough bark, is constructed by your brain, not directly copied from the world. The tree exists, yes, but not in the way it appears. It is a symbol pointing to something deeper, but not a transparent window into reality itself. This is where science and philosophy start to rhyme with the insights of the East. The Buddha's teaching of anicca, impermanence, and we'll talk about that later, the Hindu idea of maya, illusion, we'll talk about that later, and the Taoist sense of the world as flux, we'll talk about that later, all point in the same direction. What we take to be solid and permanent is not what it seems. Modern physics and evolutionary theory don't copy these ideas, but they arrive at resonances that are hard to ignore. None of this means that nothing exists. Patterns are real in their own way, just as a rainbow is real, even though it's not an object you can touch. But it does mean that our everyday experience, and even much of our scientific description, is not the bottom layer. We live within layers of emergent order, with no guarantee that our minds can ever penetrate to the foundation. So the picture is this. Physics strips away the solidity of the universe, showing us informational or mathematical structures beneath. Evolution strips away our certainty that we perceive those structures directly. Together they leave us with an unsettling but exhilarating thought. What we call reality is more like a useful dream, a grand illusion woven for survival, coherence and meaning. And yet, it is precisely in the cracks of this illusion that the deepest questions of consciousness and being begin to shine through. In this chapter, we've moved beyond the physical sciences to consider mind, evolution and perception. We saw how evolution shaped our senses as survival tools rather than transparent windows onto reality, filtering the flood of information into manageable patterns. Perception, therefore, gives us not the world as it is, but a useful interface, one that hides as much as it reveals. Consciousness complicates this further. It is both product and participant, arising through life yet also shaping the meaning of life itself. Questions of selfhood, awareness and illusion push us past the reach of biology alone. The themes here remind us that even when we understand mechanisms, something vital remains unexplained. Physics and biology describe processes, but they do not capture the raw fact of experience, the feeling of being aware. The next chapter takes up this challenge directly. Chapter 3 explores consciousness at the frontier, where psychedelics, neuroscience and technology probe its boundaries, and where philosophy asks us whether awareness is a byproduct of matter or a fundamental ground of reality. So both physics and evolution dismantle the idea that reality appears as it truly is. And if that's true, then the solid world we trust may be more like a constructed experience than a direct encounter with existence itself. Which means the problem isn't just whether the universe is strange, it might be that our minds were never built to perceive reality directly in the first place. And if that's the case, how would we ever know whether we've mistaken the interface for the truth? So we move on next to chapter 3, which is consciousness at the frontier, and it's section 14, psychedelics, opening the doors of perception. And the usual rant on the book, which is now ordered. So, as I said last time, I think I'm waiting for the proof copy to arrive, and then as long as I'm happy with that, I'll start ordering prints that people can actually purchase.